Hello, and welcome to Training Tuesday, where we go through weekly tips and tricks to make your career just a little bit more awesome. Now, this week we are talking about the communication technique of discussing what you're going towards versus what you're going away from. Now, before I go into the intricacies of the many ways in which you can use this, and part of why it was on my mind this week, let me give you something to kind of set the scene. So I want you to think about this friend that you have who constantly talks about the negative in their life, how their last relationship wasn't quite enough for them, or how this job is constantly not meeting their needs. All they do is complain. Now, think about that same person, and if they had those same concerns, but yet they instead talked about how this didn't work and what they want to go towards instead, you'd probably be a little more happy to have that conversation with them. Same can be said when it comes to having conversations in the office, in an interview, all of the above. So the reason that this actually came up for me this past week is actually I had two things that really kind of tied perfectly into this. One, I was running a workshop last Thursday through the Denver Marketing Mavens all about nailing interviews. And when we talked about ways in which you could have awesome interviews, one of the pieces we touched on was how to answer the hard questions, one of which being, why are you leaving your past job? Now, people notoriously struggle with this question, but the problem is normally what people often will do is talk about the things that they didn't like at their last job. And so as much as they're trying not to trash their prior gig, it's hard when it's kind of going into the territory of all of those things that didn't meet your needs. You can use this idea of talking about what you're going towards versus what you're going away from here perfectly. Instead of saying that this job didn't meet my needs for all of these reasons, instead frame them as what you're looking for in the next role instead. So for example, instead of saying, I didn't feel like I could grow in this past position, say, in this next role, I'm really interested in you because I think that there's greater opportunity to grow, right? You're saying the same thing, but in a completely different way that's going to be received much better. This same tool can be used when it comes to interpersonal conversations or things within an existing office. So a friend of mine reached out this past week and she is hoping to ask about switching managers. Her current manager is good, but she works with someone else much closer who has fewer people who report to her, so she has more time to help coach and mentor my friend, and they just seem to do more work together. Seems like a pretty natural fit, but she was struggling with how to have this conversation without feeling like she was making her current manager feel bad or not enough. There are plenty of ways to do this, but again, my tip to her was the same. Focus on what you're going towards versus what you're going away from. So instead of saying, here's why you're not a good manager, if you instead say, I think that this person would be better suited as my manager because she has more time, because I already work more closely with her on projects, things like that, it's a lot harder to argue, and I promise it will be better received. So if there's a conversation you're looking to have, and this can be in any context, try focusing on what you're going towards versus what you're going away from. I promise it will make all the difference in the world, and it will be better received. So try that on for size. If you have any questions, reach out, or if there's a conversation you're going to use this on this week, tell me below. And in the meantime, happy working!